Hello, everyone. Welcome to Development Palates. I am Aaron Loomis. With me today is Jiunn Liu, Seth Geis, and John McTavish. How are you all doing?
The full panel, the full gangbang.
That's right. So today what we're doing is we are discussing our top 5 cigars from 2019. So we're basically going to run through top 5 for each of us. There going to be some duplicates, but we'll talk about them as their higher ranking. So we'll just do a kind of a quick little synopsis on each one, give each person a chance to talk about how it ranked for them and why it made the top 5, and we'll kind of run through it. So we're going to start at number 5 for John. And John, your number 5 was the Avo Improvisation LE19. You want to tell us a little bit about how this made number 5 for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I was looking through my notes. So it was such an odd cigar to make the top 5 for me. I mean, it probably would have been better suited to make the top 10, I think, looking back. But looking at the scoring, this is one of the highest scoring cigars in terms of the first third. That is, the performance in the first third actually would have put it in like basically top 1, top 2 for the year. Unfortunately, the third of this cigar also would have put it in one of the lowest ranks cigars of the year. So, I have to revisit this. I'm probably going to revisit this if it ever, stops freezing up here. Because my thought at the time was, I think they just, whatever re-release or re-blend or whatever you want to call it, I don't think it was quite ready at the time that I smoked it. So I think it's going to be a lot better, a lot more married, having sat in the humidor for longer. But the first third to me demonstrated sort of that classic late 90s, early 2000s Davidoff, like not the powerhouse. It's that sort of mushroomy, spicy, bready, yummy Davidoff. And that's what I fell in love with. That was the profile that kind of, I kept going back to or wanting for the rest of the cigar. Performance was good. Unlike 2018, I'm not sure that any of the cigars in my top 5 list, maybe even top 10, struggled at all this year with construction. So it's kind of interesting because, I can't say that the scoring is competitive with 2018 in terms of the flavor performance, but in terms of construction, we don't seem, or at least I don't seem to have any issues with construction. So what is this a rebrand of? I didn't really follow that because I didn't really smoke the original rebrand.
I think that they still haven't announced it yet, but we'll have to see, maybe 2020.
So I'll either look like an idiot or a genius when they announce what it is.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to skip Seth and Jiunn because their cigars place a little higher on the list for others. So we'll get to my number 5, which is the Henry Clay Warhawk Toro. This is an interesting cigar, a bit of a surprise for me. It wasn't that rustic Henry Clay kind of profile. It was a little bit more refined. Had that nice Connecticut shade wrapper, but it had that broadleaf binder, so it kind of worked well together. I really enjoyed it. A nice, Year of the Connecticut type of performance from this cigar. I wish Seth and John had a chance to smoke this because I think it might have done pretty well for you guys.
I don't even have it on my list.
Yeah, I don't know. You're just a Connecticut hater. So
such a hater.
I actually remember liking this cigar.
Huh. Cigars on my list.
Oh, it is. Okay, you did
the Corona.
Oh, you did smoke the Corona.
The
Corona was good.
Corona's on my list.
All right, yeah. I smoked the Toro. I thought the Toro was great. So
yeah,
Corona.
It's a great blend, man, all around.
Yeah, it's tough to say, and this is why I freak out about missing any reviews of the year, because it always seems to be the cigar reviews that I miss that ends up being like, oh man, that's top 5. It's like, you dirty sons of. But when I did get the chance to smoke both the Toro and the Corona, I think the Toro for me, I mean, it's tough to say within the vacuum, but I can say for sure it would have been a top 10, maybe top 5 for me as well. It was a really, really good year of the Connecticut.
That's right. All right. So speaking of year of Connecticut, we're going to go back to John for number 4, the Cubaraqueño Protocol Sir Robert Peel Maduro.
Wait, that's not a Connecticut. What do you?
Well, I mean, there's a little bit of debate if it's the year of the Connecticut or the year of the Maduro. So we're going to figure out where you're at. So, all right, number 4, John, tell us about this cigar.
Yeah, so this was a limited edition from Cubaraqueño, the Protocol Boys, as everyone knows them by, which is not the company name. And this was really intended to be a more, if you've ever met Juan and Bill, they're not exactly the suit and tie wearing guys. So this was kind of their suit and tie release. It was supposed to be highfalutin, really, limited edition. And the packaging on it was, they put a lot of effort and thought into the packaging and gives a lot of homage. It's not homage, it's homage to classic policing, the actual birthplace of policing, Sir Robert Peel. So that was kind of cool. But obviously, you can't smoke the branding. I really liked it. I mean, you can call me a fanboy. That's totally fine. I have obviously gone on the record in the past of scoring some of their stuff quite high. But I think that's more to do with the fact that the blending style that they have kind of suits my palate. So there was 2 releases. There was a Maduro and a natural. I smoked the natural first, and I thought it was really good. I think it also shows up on the top 25 list, somewhere in the sort of mid level.
16.
Yeah, so it was good, but I smoked the Maduro, and that was definitely my jam. And I smoked a bunch of them just, because I wanted to make sure that wasn't a one-off high-performing sample that they had juiced just to get it on the list, because sometimes guys fool around, they juice the blend, you don't know. But I think I ended up smoking 3 or 4 of these in total, and all were actually quite consistent in terms of flavor profile, construction, draw, just elegant, desserty, pretty much what when I think limited edition, this is what I want. This is exactly how I want a limited edition to perform.
All right, so we'll go to the number 4 for Seth. And Seth, that was the Nat Sherman Timeless Limited Edition TAA 2019. Tell us about that one.
You killed it. That's
I did kill it.
No, dude, I think I think it's a fantastic Dominican Puro. I think it really shows, everyone thinks like Dominican cigars are lighter, weaker, less flavorful than Nicaraguan stuff. This cigar, almost like the La Aurora Sinianos, just delivers the complete opposite, shows tons of flavor, strength, body, really good construction. It's just a really good, strong Dominican blend that, it's obviously it's for Nat Sherman. It's blended by the Casadas with Herclots. And, whenever Casada Herclots, they create a blend like this, I'm usually in favor of it. Otherwise, what was it that I said to Herclots? Wasn't expecting much.
Yeah, you were expecting much.
I don't know if I was expecting anything, but this was really pleasant. Great smoke.
Very nice. All right, so we'll go over to the number 4 for Jiunn, and this was also Seth's number 5 and my number 7, and that was the Hoya Nicaraguan Numero Uno La Ambassador. So, Jiunn, tell us about this cigar.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I saw Half Wheel give it, number 1 last year, I was of course intrigued to smoke this. I thought it was a great cigar. This is one of 4 Hoyas that made my top 25, which says a lot. Can't remember the last time 4 cigars from one brand made it on my top 25. So this is a great cigar. I mean, this was well balanced, got a lot of good flavors. I love the size, the smaller ringage of the cigar. I was surprised by this. I was kind of waiting to be like, kind of shit on it because, just because somebody else gave it high. I'm like, yeah.
Right.
Anyways, it was great. Loved it.
Any thoughts, Seth? That was your number 5.
Fantastic Connecticut. Great, great release from Hoya. I was, interested in smoking it just because there was hype of it, and now then it became a national release. It's one of these things. How does that transition? I smoked it. Was like, damn, this is a really good cigar. Smoked it again, and it just kept on smoking. Great. What's up,
Seth?
man?
Would you say there was a lot of really good Connecticut's this year?
I'd say it's a really good year for Connecticut's. I thought it was.
No.
That was a very strong Connecticut year. Jiunn said, I think Hoya actually did a great job this year, but I'm not surprised. I mean, they do usually a solid job every year. So yeah.
Yep.
Oh, you, Aaron, you had it.
Yeah, I had number 7. Pre-light, this cigar had very peaty Scotch notes, because almost some of that tobacco was in a used peated Scotch cask. So I was very interested to see, knowing where the Cinco de Cadas had some barrel aging. I was thinking maybe that this might have a little bit of a tinge of that going on with it as well. So it was a very interesting smoke. It was very good Connecticut. I would agree with you guys.
Well, given that the 3 of you really liked it, I suspect whenever it shows up, which, at this stage should be February of 2021, I look forward to lending my voice to the group.
There you go.
We want your voice.
Yeah.
I feel like Hoya, by the way, is like I think they do the whole spectrum of like medium, light, strong, heavy, etc. really well. You know, like they
Yeah,
have
they
a
can-
ton of facings,
Yeah,
but I
they
feel
can
like
touch on
every one of
everything.
them, yeah, they do a good job of touching on everything.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to skip my number 4 because it shows up a little bit later higher for somebody else. We'll go back to John, his number 3 cigar. That is the Davidoff Reverie Toro.
Davidoff? No, I'm pretty sure they're going out of business, man. It doesn't seem right to me. Yeah, this is another example. I think, Davidoff had a lot of releases this year. We talked earlier in the year that I was a little concerned that perhaps they're overextending themselves. But that turns to be not the case. A lot of the Davidoff releases showed up on all of our top 25 lists this year. The Reverie for me, I think it was just kind of special because, again, I think the sort of more classical Davidoff profile tends to score higher for me. Being a Canadian and smoking a lot of, European style cigars, Cuban cigars, that classic Davidoff profile, that mushroomy profile for me, really, really I dig it. And I mean, it was turned up. Like this to me is like a hybrid between sort of a classic Davidoff and a more new style Davidoff, because the profile definitely got up to about medium plus, but there wasn't any like overriding pepper or spice that just wrecked the palate. So solid performance, consistent performance. I don't even need to talk about construction or anything like that because Davidoff's, that's kind of a given. This was that was one of those cigars that as soon as I smoked it, I'm like, yeah, this is going to show up on my top list for sure.
Jiunn, you had this at 21 on your list. Did you want to add anything to this?
I don't really remember this cigar.
Okay, good to know.
I think it was
All right.
it was in my early top 25 list too, Aaron. Before
Yeah, I think so. And then some of the later ones kind
Later
of
ones
bumped it
bumped it.
out. Yeah, I think you were down. The
Was
bottom
this
half.
one of the? So John, you said this was more of the old style classic Davidoff, where a lot of flavors, not a lot of like overwhelming spice.
Yeah, big musty mushroom right off the
Yeah.
hop,
Oh,
like the
okay.
first half of it.
Yeah.
This is one of the Vault series.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And if okay, so to that extent, I'm not surprised that I have it top 25. I like Davidoff that are of that nature as compared to like, especially like the chef release comes to mind where it was like really strong, a lot more spice. But yeah, this is I love Davidoff. That's classic. That mushroom, hay, that kind of thing. Love it.
All right, so we'll go to number 3 for Seth, and that was the JRE Aladino Corojo Reserva Toro.
Yeah, which you also just recently killed. I'm
Yes.
loving this. So listen, this is you don't appreciate Honduran tobacco. That's just
Tell me about Honduran tobacco, Seth.
You just don't know how to smoke it, man. That's what this is. You just don't know how to smoke. So
Where to light it?
yeah, no. Listen, I think it's a fantastic. I have always been one to say that Honduran puros can be really crappy, but if you make a great one, I think they're fantastic. I think the Jerry Aladino Corojo Reserva Toro is that cigar. There's just dry, old school farm flavors, nice body and strength to it, just complexities, beautiful construction, really, really an awesome stick. So.
Yeah, I mean, I dig the first third, but for some reason with the Corojo Reserva, after that first third, I don't know if it just my palate's tired of it or what, but it just I lose interest in it after that first third. So
just can't handle it. You got to lift more weights, man.
I can't handle it. Yeah, that's true.
This is different than.
This is a new Vitola for this year.
Oh, okay, because the last year was Robusto, right?
Robusto.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's just a new Vitola. All right, so we're going to skip June's number 3 because that shows up higher on the list. Then we'll go to my number 3, which is the Lugione Epernay 10th Anniversary D'Asta. I thought this was to me, it was the best Lugione release this year. I know everybody else is going to disagree with me, but I thought this was very much Epernay. It's got that anniversary tag to it. I don't see it as necessarily an anniversary. I think it just happens to be a new Vitola release that happened on the 10th anniversary year. And it kind of is going to get a bit of a bum rap in regards to that piece of it. But I thought it was, I thought it showed, close enough to the rest of the Epernay line, but enough of a difference to, be something that's different in its own Vitola. So I thought it was very enjoyable. Scored very well for me. I enjoy a lot of what Illusione puts out, so it wasn't a surprise to me that this would hit for me. Any other thoughts from you guys? I think it shows up on John's and
Yeah, I agree with your
Sal's
comments
list.
that this was, to me, as you can see by the list, this was the highest scoring Illusione for me as well. And I agree. I think it showcased, when I think about Illusione, that's what I thought about. And I think it hit our palates very similarly. I just had a lot else going on and had a tight top 15 list this year. So.
All right, so number 2 for you, John, was the Hoya de Nicaragua Antonio CT Toro. Tell us about this Connecticut.
Boy, that's a lot of Connecticut's. Are you sure that's right? That seems like a lot of Connecticut's. We don't really review Connecticut's, do we? Just mostly smoke full-bodied stuff, right?
I think our quota is we have to throw one in a quarter or something like that.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, this was a surprise, honestly. When I heard Hoya was doing a Connecticut sort of in the style of Antonio, I wasn't quite sure what to make of that, because the Antonio, I mean, back in the day, the Antonio was like one of the stronger blends that was on the market. And I was like, well, if you make that a Connecticut, I feel like you're going to blow the whole profile of the Connecticut wrapper right out of the gate. So ultimately, I think the fact that it's attached to an Antonio name, I think you almost kind of have to disregard that. This is its own thing, and it's not like the red. It's not like, it's not like, well, I guess I don't know what the other Hoya that you guys reviewed, how it compares to that. But to me, this is like exactly where I want a classic Connecticut to be. If you brought a classic Connecticut into the 2020s and got rid of that sort of bitter astringency that you get with a lot of Connecticut's, you just took that completely out of profile, but you got all the rest of the Connecticut flavors perfectly balanced. That's what you get. And this is a cigar that really surprised me in a really good way. I honestly thought this may end up being my number 1 for the year. When I smoked it, I was like, this is phenomenal. And this could be a easy daily smoker. Like if I wanted to start the day with a coffee and a cigar, this would be the cigar I would pick.
Yeah, and this cigar was my number 4 and June's number 5. So June, you want to chime in on any of that?
Yeah, totally agree with John in the sense of I had no idea that this was going to be this high. This cigar, within like the hype of cigars going into the trade show, was definitely not on the list for, I don't think, any of us. So it was a nice surprise to see how well it performed for 3 out of 4 of us, which is anomaly all by itself. I mean, we typically don't agree that much within the cigar reviews that we do. But I mean, it was great. Like it was super flavorful. You have that traditional Connecticut style, like barnyard mustiness toast. I also had like a really nice, like I said that, like, well, basically Starbucks is like over extracted charred coffee, but in a cigar note, I really loved it. Yeah, I was super surprised by this being so high on my list, but it totally makes sense. I kind of want to go and revisit some soon just to see how I feel.
Yeah, I enjoyed it as well. I was interested to see what they were going to do with this cigar because, kind of having that Antonio blend and changing up the wrapper, that's typically associated with more of a lighter type of cigar. I think it worked well. For the Antonio line, it doesn't hit me with the strength like it hits other people. This was similar. I know some people, like to tout it as a bit of a stronger Connecticut. I didn't feel it was all that strong. But I think the balance was good on it, and that's why it scored so well for me. I don't know what happened to Seth. He just kind of completely just got out of the group with that one. So
I didn't I didn't see it, man. I didn't see that.
Yep, no worries.
All
right. So number 2 for you, Seth, was the Winston Churchill Limited Edition 2019 Robusto.
Oh yeah, baby.
It's beauty, man.
Preach it.
That thing's just a flavor bomb. Tons of body and strength, complex blend. I think what's great from it is it's a really awesome multinational blend from Davidoff, and it's. I mean, I hate to say this, it's a Mexican San Andreas. I mean, it's a good Maduro. Wasn't the year of the Maduro, but it's a solid Maduro release. But just really good flavors, good body and strength. It's totally not Davidoff in the sense of when you smoke it, you're not gonna. To me, it didn't have that Davidoff quality, but it had everything that Davidoff brings in terms of excellence to a cigar with it. So very, very great cigar. I remember smoking it 51 weeks ago today with John
Yeah, baby.
at Davidoff.
There you go. So this was also number 9 for John and Jiunn, and number 15 for me. So I don't know if you guys want to chime in on that cigar.
Jiunn?
Go ahead, John.
Sure. I agree that one of the comments you made, Seth, that I think this is about as far removed from a Davidoff as you can get. Like if you had guys smoke this blind, they'd be like, I have no idea what this is, because it really doesn't have any of the fingerprints of Davidoff. And I think that's kind of what they wanted to do. It is strong. It is, to me, I think it's probably one of the strongest Davidoffs in terms of both flavor, performance, and body, or strength, I should say. And I've smoked a number of them now, and I mean, I'm actually kind of surprised it only scored number 9. I think it just goes to show how much the for me the top 10 field was a knife fight, and everything beyond the top 10 kind of fell off pretty rapidly. But I think when we smoked this at the beginning of the year, I think we kind of both looked at each other and went, this, like, it's one of those cigars where you start smoking and you're like, yep, like I don't even need to finish it because this is going to show up on the top list. Like it's just, you can tell it's a great cigar right off the hop. Jim?
I think if this is a cigar people smoked later in the year, it would do even better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can see that because I was just reviewing some of the notes I put, and there was definitely like some charred bitterness to it that I kind of felt like it kind of took over the profile within the final third. But even with that said, I think if yeah, we know classic Davidoff that does that great mustiness, that mushroomy kind of note, but Davidoff could also play in the fuller realm. So I think of course they purposely try to reach that market as well, and this cigar shows that they can.
Yeah, when I smoked this cigar, we're talking about smoking it earlier in the year. I liked the cigar, but I was like, yeah, this is a good cigar. But what it scored at was like, all right, this is, it's going to be one of those good cigars that, unfortunately gets caught out by a bunch of other good or slightly better cigars. Little did I know how not good most of the cigars were going to be, and then this would be right dab in the middle of my list. So it worked out for this cigar that it just, it did its job, and it hit early, and that's how it worked out. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the cigar as well. I would smoke more of these, no problem. I thought it was very good. All right, so number 2 for you, Jiunn, HVC Serie A Perlas.
Nobody else. Did anyone else score this on their list?
No.
Oh, interesting. Okay, well, fuck you guys. All right, so I think HVC, and I feel like I tell the same fucking thing about HVC every year. The first time I smoked HVC is basically the year that I met Aaron, which is about like 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago.
Probably 15?
15?
Yeah.
Okay, about yeah. And then you gave me the what is that one called?
The city.
The city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember now what it was called.
What are you talking about?
The original HVC.
The original
release.
HVC.
Yeah.
Yeah. That really helped me to identify that there is Aganorsa outside of like back in the day of like, of course, Illusione and like Warped, when Warped was really hot. And it really put that brand on my radar big time for me. And then ever since then, I felt like every year they released something really solid. This was no different. This was that classic Aganorsa, in which, yeah, like we all hate this term of like Cubanesque, but a lot of these like Corojo-based Aganorsa cigars can be quite Cubanesque, in my opinion.
I
You
agree.
talking about La Rosa 520?
No, before that. It was just called like
that.
HVC The City, I think.
The City, it was called, I think.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would probably dare to say some of the really good Aganorsa stuff that's Corojo based is better than most Cuban cigars out there, right? Because it's consistent. That's why.
See, now you got to go say that. And, we're gonna,
Hey, look.
you can email your complaints to Aaron at
jeez.
developingpalates.com.
And these burn and draw so great.
Yeah.
Just kidding. I loved it. I mean, I think Rainier, I've always thought he was a really great guy trying to push his little brand, and I continuously hope that he pushes his brand further, and we'll see, more sales, bigger booth, and all that from him for the trade shows.
Push it real good.
All right. So my number 2 cigar of the year was the JSM Crawl Tyrannical Buck Maduro Magnum 48. This is kind of a short, thin cigar, and this is Jiunn's number 3 as well. I thought this was just a super flavorful cigar, a really good Maduro. I was kind of interested by the band choice on this. It's not the typical JSM Crawl nice looking band. This is just kind of a very simple band. So that kind of threw me for a little bit of a loop, but super flavorful, consistent throughout. And it was a nice surprise. I really enjoyed it. What were your thoughts on it, Jiunn?
Yeah, this is when I first smoked this cigar, I thought immediately when Saka first came out with his Dumbarton brand, especially within like the Mi Querida line, a little bit of like Silver Mesa
Hold
line.
on. You're likening this to what Steve did?
Huh?
You're likening this to what Steve did?
Yeah, what you talking about, Willis?
Yeah, it's like I remember when Steve first came out with like Mi Querida and all that stuff, and his broadleaf cigars.
You think you're likening it to that?
Yeah, I remember a lot of that Mi Querida had this really nice like brownie chocolatey thing going on.
Yep.
So when I lit up the Tyrannical Buck Maduro, this name convention is so weird. I immediately kind of thought about what a well executed Connecticut broadleaf is. This is not a cheap cigar. I think this cigar was like close to
it was $9.
$9 for this little short size.
That's cheap.
But oh, okay. All right.
It's not $20. It's not $50.
When we talk about Seth's number 1 cigar, you'll understand.
Yeah,
cheap, man. Cheap.
The rest of us will understand.
Smoke 10 of these.
The only thing that's a letdown about this cigar is once you smoke one, you want to smoke another one, right? Because it doesn't quite feel that itch, right?
It's like a cigarette.
Yeah, sure.
Worst show ever.
Yeah. So it's kind of a crack cigar in that fashion. I know some of his very assertive fanboys say that about the cigar, and I agree. So,
and that was a cigar that Jiunn and I were a reviewer on. So it's unfortunate that John and Seth didn't get a chance to smoke this guy.
It is unfortunate. And Riste, what the hell, man? Why do you hate Canada? What did I ever do to you? Just saying.
Dude, he's probably going to get arrested before we even get around to going at her for something.
No, he's gonna hear that comment you just said, John. And he's going to be like, oh, these motherfuckers want free cigars.
Exactly.
No, I don't want free cigars. I just want to be able to get my hands on his cigars. But, fuck, man.
No, I hear you.
Dude, I could buy them for you. I'm sorry, man.
Thank you. Call me.
All right, so let's get to the number 1s. John, your number 1, Southern Draw Rosa Sharon Desert Rose.
Yeah. You're the Maduro, man. I don't know what to tell you. No, when I smoked this at the trade show. And it's kind of been a theme actually the last couple of years. We've smoked a cigar, the Paso Doble, I think was an example. We smoked at the show and we're like, damn, this is really good. And when I smoked the Rosa Sharon, I was like, this is really good. And people need to understand when you're smoking at Las Vegas, you really can't taste much because the humidity is janky. You're in a bad environment. The heat's really bad. So when you're impressed by a cigar there, it's like, well, this is going to be interesting to sit down and actually take the time and review it. And, this cigar, and we'll get into it on the other show, but this cigar scored substantially higher than any other cigar on my list. So, when I originally reviewed it, it was a clear winner. And I was like, well, I wonder where it's going to land. And then I kept seeing the scores and I was like, well, it's like almost a half a point higher than everything else I've smoked this year. So it's not a matter of, it's slightly the lead. It's beyond the lead. Talking about the cigar quickly. It's so on my other Connecticut's, I talked about kind of how they were classic. This is kind of anything but classic, but he carefully avoids the trap of, I think a few years ago we saw a lot of people blending Connecticut's with just tons of pepper and spice in them, and I enjoy that, but I think that gets you way out of what the core of what a Connecticut is, and I think he probably makes this blend as quote unquote boutiquey as possible while still being within that style. And I think he probably takes it about as far as you can go. I don't think you can go farther than that. Otherwise, you're going to be outside of that Connecticut profile, that range. So yeah, for me, clear number one. Even though the Hoya, which is a great cigar, scored really well, the Desert Rose just beat it down. So yeah.
Very nice.
Down.
All right, Seth, it's time for your number one. So we're talking about the Davidoff 100th anniversary Diademus.
Who else had it on their list? Just raise your hand.
I think we all did.
We all did.
We
right?
all did, man. All
Yes.
did. Listen,
man.
All right, so let me read this off. So number 10 for me, we'll go with, where's Jiunn at?
11.
Number 11. John is at
number 19.
19.
I just got to keep you guys real with the number
There you go.
19.
Yeah, just keep it real. I think the cigar's magnificent. It's definitely not. I mean, it's a number one cigar, but at the same time, this isn't an everyday cigar. This is not even a, every month cigar. I think this is really just a truly special cigar that's massive, that's complex, shows transitioning, not over the top in terms of strength and body. You have to really kind of spend your time pointing out all the flavors. It's an elegant cigar. It's also super expensive, man, but great
That's right.
blend. Anything else? Anyone want to chime in on it?
No, I agree. I think it's super elegant. If you like Davidoff traditional profile, you got like time for like 3.5 something hours to smoke it and enjoy it. There's no other Davidoff cigars that'll do it than this cigar. So,
Yeah, I'm just happy to have had the opportunity to smoke it because I think this is going to be one of those cigars where, we're all in the retirement home years gone by. It's like, hey, man, you remember 2019 we smoked that Diademus anniversary? Man, that was a good cigar. This is back when they made really good cigars. And, it's kind of one of
Back when
those,
those
fucking
where were
retirement
you?
back when they're in
John.
business.
Yeah, it's definitely a good cigar. It's definitely an experienced cigar because of the size and all that stuff and the price. It's a different thing than just lighting up a $10 Toro, right?
Listen, yeah, we thank Havana Phil's for the smokes, and
Mm-hmm.
tell you what, then he sold through those things pretty damn fast.
I
So
bet. All right, Jiunn, number one for you, Illusione Singulare 2019 Seven Horns.
Yeah, another year gone by, another number one Singulair for me. So, I think, whenever Dion decided to do a Diademus, I think it's worth paying special attention to. I know he's been thinking about this Vitola and seeing what he wants to do with it. So I think it's very fitting that it became in the Singulair format. Very similar to kind of how Seth feels about the Davidoff Diademus. I feel the same way about the Seven Horns. I felt like it was proper Diademus that is transitional, nuanced. Still, even though with that said, like it's kind of rough around the edges, but I'm okay with that. Singulars typically can be, and they are when they first release. And that's part of the fun of smoking through Singulars as they kind of progress and they age to kind of gauge where they're at. If I were to kind of think about Singular, the Seven Horns versus my number one of the Turin, I still like the Turin more at the time we reviewed them, i.e. when it was released. Felt like the Turin was that much fuller in flavor and that there's a sharper focus in flavors. But equal strength. Like both these cigars for me got to that medium plus range for strength. But it doesn't, beat me over the head with it. Definitely feel it. But it was like a progression of strength that builds, which is nice. Man, I just, call me a fanboy, but I love what Dion does. And I think he's one of the best, like consistent, blenders out there that when he's ready to release something special is when he'll do it, not deeming whatever the market wants.
Yeah, and Seth, you had this as number 18 on your list if you wanted to add anything in here.
Yeah, I mean, listen, my comments on Singulair have always been there's been some good years for it. There's been some bad years for them. They do it. I think it's one of those Illusione brands that really is fun to see how they age. The Turin was really good. The Rose Qua aged okay. Um, I love the 109 cap on this. It's an awesome diadema. Really good flavors. Dion did a good job with it. I have it as the second best Illusione of the year, but fantastic smoke.
All right, so get to my number one. My number one is the Balmoral Series Signaturas Paso Doble Gran Toro. This is a collaboration between Balmoral and Lito Gomez from Flor Dominicana. I thought this was a really good cigar this year. Had a chance to smoke it at the trade show. Really enjoyed it there. Took it back and had a chance to review it. I'm going to give you an interesting fact for 2019. This is the only cigar so far this year that I have scored a third in flavor for very good. So,
Wow.
Wow.
It's this is definitely, like I mentioned earlier, this is a down year for me in regards to cigars, but this is the only one where a third that actually scored very good, and that was the first third in this, which is typically how cigars work for me, is they start out stronger than they finish. But I think just the combination of flavors was fantastic with this cigar and how it started, and it kind of eased up as it went along, but it kind of maintained its character throughout. So I thought it was just a really enjoyable cigar, and it scored very well for me. So I know that a few of you guys had it, Seth and John. It was on your list as well. So it was 19 for you, Seth, and 18 for you, John. So I don't know if you want to chime in at all.
Yeah, when we smoked at the show, I was actually pretty convinced at that time that it was going to be top 10 and probably a top 5 contender. I think that the cigar that I smoked after the show need a little bit of time, and I think if I revisit this in the new year, which is now, when it's warmer, I think I'm going to get a cigar that performs very similar to what you experienced. Because, like I said, I think the bones are there. I think it's a really, really good cigar. And I think a lot of people are going to be talking about this year.
How about you, Seth?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think they smoked great at the show. Smoked well afterwards. I picked up more at Draper's and around Thanksgiving in DC. Picked up some other sizes. I smoked the Toro there. Great stick.
Yeah, and I'm interested in smoking a smaller ring gauge in this. I'm just curious to see how it smokes like that. This Gran Toro's was a 54 ring gauge, I think, something like that. So I'm interested in trying a smaller ring gauge. But that's our list, or the top 5 for our list for 2019. And just keep in mind, these are fluid lists. They can still change as we smoke more releases from 2019. So if you have any comments or want to tell us how wrong we are in our picks, feel free to make comments. Other than that, we'll be looking forward to the 2020 cigar year. Any other thoughts from you guys on this?
I know that this is a fluid list, but at the same rate, we purposely target cigars in which we feel like will be reaching our top 25 as we smoke throughout the calendar year.
Sure.
So there's a rhyme and a reason behind the way we review. So it's a pretty when we say, for me anyways, I speak for myself, that this is my top 25 2019 new cigar list. It's a pretty good foundational solid list within what happened within the new releases within the year, I think.
Right. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
There may be a surprise here or there to jump on the list, but it's usually not going to move too much.
There's going to be some consistency. I mean, Davidoff, Hoya Nicaraguan, Illusione, Royal Agio.
Yep.
I mean, those are core brands.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, a truly good cigar is pretty obvious because, it shows up on all 4 of our lists, and, it's a no-brainer at that point.
Yep. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.